Hey everybody, welcome to In the Art Room. This is episode 3 of the Artcasters Challenge. This is the episode where I'm going to try to take some pencils here and put value onto the Vincent drawing. For those of you that are stumbling upon this episode first, I have 2 prior episodes. My name is Gary Anderson, by the way. I have 2 prior episodes. If you'd like to check those out first, they're basically me sketching out this drawing and then transferring it over to this little piece of mat board, which is essentially a painting or a picture frame mat board that I bought, where I just kind of cut the beveled edges off, gessoed it up, and then drew this image onto it. But again, that's on the previous episodes, so check those out if you would, please. I see I'm not quite done with it. There we go. That looks all right. And I see I'm still not quite done with it. So don't tell anybody I didn't quite finish it yet. There we go. Okay. So I want to give out a special shout out and a thank you to everybody who has subscribed to my channel, Gary Anderson. I know that there was another subscription that came on this week. I'm very thankful for that. And again, I appreciate it. Hopefully you're liking what y'all are seeing. And I know I have another series called Gary E. Sketch Cards. I hope you like what you're seeing there. And I guess let's get to it. Let's get going. So essentially what I'm going to do today is just put some pencil values in. I need to get a piece of tracing paper, however. I was totally unprepared for tonight. Sorry about that. How's it going, by the way? Yes, this is what I look like. So I hope you all had a good week. Mine was okay. It was very busy. I'm in a band called Mason Rivers that was performing. I think we did 3 shows last week. We were supposed to do 4, but one of them got rained out, and so it was very busy. There was a lot of getting out of work a little early and showing up to places. Now that festival season has started, if anyone's in a band, you'll know what I'm talking about. If you're in a working band, that once festival season starts, things tend to get a little crazy, and which is a good thing. But at the same time, you can be a little hectic, especially if you're, especially if you have a day job. That's, you know, not that I'm complaining about the day job. I like the day job thing. It definitely makes paying the mortgage, you know, a little easier. Just when you're running around like crazy all the time, it just, things can get a little crazy. So I talked in the last couple episodes a little bit about how I draw and a little bit of the process. If you have any questions on what you're seeing, please comment below, and I'll try to answer them as best as I can. If you would, please subscribe to my channel, and you know, I'd like to get to know you a little bit better. And you know, again, if you like what you're seeing, you know, if you have any suggestions on how to improve, whether it be the technique or whether it be you know, the subject matter, if you have any recommendations on any drawing you'd like to see done, I'm open to suggestions. So let's see, basically what I'm doing now is I'm just adding value to this drawing. The hope is that I'm going to eventually take some acrylic paints, airbrush on top of this, and finish this up for the Artcasters Challenge for June, which is robots. But I need to get the underdrawing in first before I do that. For those of you that have seen the Drew Struzan video. Drew Struzan is the artist, for those of you that don't know, is the artist that did like the Back to the Future poster. He did a bunch of Star Wars posters, he did Raiders posters. Look him up, you know, it's a wired world. Look him up if you don't know him already. But this was something that he did a Hellboy poster for Guillermo del Toro, and he documented his process. And for years, I really wanted to know how he did what he did. You know, after seeing the Back to the Future poster, I tried, you know, and I think I've mentioned this before, I tried sort of emulating that style, sometimes even downright copying it, I'll be honest. But could never quite figure it out, and then I saw his video on how he did it, and woo, and this is part of the process. He likes to pencil in the underdrawing and then airbrush on top of it. I'm obviously not going to compare myself to Struzan in any way, shape, or form, except to say that I am borrowing his technique, as it were. So that's what I'm doing here. And arguably, some would argue that I'm probably borrowing it very badly, but it is what it is, and I'm hoping that within the next hour I can get this underdrawing in for you. I want to throw a special shout out to some of the members of the Artcasters group, specifically Jeff Lafferty. Thank you for the props in the last couple of Artcasters show. I do appreciate the fact that people are watching, and anybody who's liked any of the videos, seen any of the videos, subscribed because they saw the videos, thank you so much. Once again, I'm relatively new to all of this, so you know, the fact that people are out there watching and liking makes me feel pretty good. Makes me feel, you know, makes me feel like that this isn't just something I'm just doing for the heck of it. I mean, you know, I am doing it for the heck of it, I suppose. I mean, there's, you know, I'm not getting commissioned or getting paid to do any of this kind of stuff as of yet, but again, it's nice to know that people are watching and people are liking it, you know. And again, if you don't like it, let me know, and I'll see what I can, you know, if you have any suggestions, don't just write off your shit sucks, sorry, whoops, you know, don't just write your stuff sucks. I'll beep that out. We want to keep this family friendly, but you know, give me an option on how to fix it, you know what I mean, or what I can improve on it. And you know, like I said, relatively new at all of this, so but I want to give a shout out to Jeff Lafferty again. There are some absolutely amazing artists out on the Artcasters group. Jay Ferguson, who was also on the show, great airbrush artist. Scott Cirkland, another great artist. He's kind of doing his own thing, trying to get his own brand up and running, so support him if you would. Scott, if you're watching this, I actually have I have the Young and the Dead artist versions in my shopping cart on my phone, but I can't figure out how to buy it through your store on the phone. but I'm going to do it on the internet. And just remembered I needed to actually do that. So I'll do that after I make this video, Scott, if you're watching. Jeff Lafferty, supporting Jeff Lafferty on his Patreon page. And if you don't know what that is, Patreon, go on and check it out. It's where you can support different artists. A little bit of money and a whole lot of support. And I don't have one up yet. I don't plan on putting one up until for a little while, I guess. You know, yeah, go check that out. Give Jeff some support. You know, Kevin Cross is another awesome comic book artist. He's got a comic called Monkey Mod that he's working on. He's working on a few other things, but Monkey Mod is kind of his baby, so look that up. And all these guys also have videos on YouTube, so go ahead and do a Google search on them. Once again, Jeff Lafferty, Jay Ferguson, Scott Cirkland, and Kevin Cross. Look them up. There are a few more, but their names are kind of escaping me. Dee Dee Willingham. Dee Dee, as well as a couple of the other guys I just mentioned, other artists I should say. She is a subscriber to my channel. Thank you, Dee Dee. Hope you're doing all right. And I hope I'm not going too far off the page with this. If I am, I apologize. Like I said, all this is new to me, so, you know, there are going to be times where the camera's going to be out of focus because I totally forgot to put the AE lock on like a moron. If that happens, you know, just kind of be patient, bear with me. And, you know, I think we'll all make it through this together and we'll be fine. So I think I also mentioned in some of the previous episodes that I don't know, I'm kind of new to all this. I haven't you know, posting videos on YouTube, and you know, so I'm trying to figure out what works and what doesn't. Maybe admitting every week that I'm kind of new to this is not the way to go. So I think I will make this the last week that I actually admit that I may or may not know what I'm doing, depending on which episode you're watching. And so yeah, that'll be the end of that. Let's see, that's looking pretty good. That's going to get a little lighter over here. There's a little bit of mid-tone over here as well. I also want to give a quick shout out to Melody Huber, who was my high school art teacher and who I personally consider the person solely responsible for my interest in art. And she was very gracious with her time back in high school. I remember I would ask a lot of questions and stuff, and I know there were times I didn't necessarily take your advice, Ms. Huber, but it always stayed with me. Everything you taught me always stayed with me. Trust me when I tell you, and you'll get this, and probably not a lot of other people, when I'm doing the outlines on any drawing, or it looks a little too comic bookish, trust me, it's still with me that it looks a little too comic bookish or I'm doing outlines. I think you'll remember and understand, but Hope you're doing well. I'm actually friends with her on Facebook. And she sounds like she's doing pretty well, so I'm very happy for that. And let's see. So that's looking decent. I'm going to be sharpening from time to time throughout the drawing here. I apologize. Let's see. Alright, so now I also want to give a shout out to my fiance, Chris. Thank you for, I don't want to say letting me do this, but you know, there are times I'm sure that you would wish I were concentrating on other things. Wedding plans, for instance. Cleaning the house, for instance. So you are the absolute best, and I've always said it, and I will say it for the rest of my life. And there you go. If I have enough time, getting back to matters at hand, what I will do is not only pencil this in, but I'm hoping to get the full black tones in, which I will use some black gesso, excuse me. By the way, bottoms up, everybody. If you're under 21, do not do this. But it's been a crazy week. And I don't remember what I was saying here. So as I've mentioned before, I'm also a musician. And I definitely listen to music when I'm doing this, when I'm not recording. And some very good recommendations, I think. I've always been a fan of like movie soundtracks. Even when I was a kid, I was always a fan of like orchestrated soundtracks and whatnot. And I think some of the best ones that I'm listening to now are the Mad Max Fury Road soundtrack. It's just very cool soundtrack, but it's very Hans Zimmer. They were really looking for that Hans Zimmer sound with the soundtrack, and rightfully so, because Zimmer is kind of the standard now. He's sort of the, I hate to say it, but he's sort of the John Williams of today's soundtrack. He's kind of the standard that everybody is shooting for, you know. Back in the day, if you wanted a movie poster, the studios would ask for a Struzan, which, you know, they wanted Drew Struzan. So everybody would copy his style. If they wanted a soundtrack, there were a lot of awesome composers, guys like, you know, Jerry Goldsmith, John Williams, of course, and you know, just a lot of awesome composers. And I know some of you are finishing that thought right now. You know, you're probably shouting out the composer that you liked, or composer that you know. But Hans Zimmer seems to be the standard nowadays. But even though it was definitely very highly influenced by Zimmer, I think the composer of the Fury Road soundtrack did a great job. sounds awesome. It's great, energetic music to listen to while you're drawing, and it's just entertaining. And speaking of Hans Zimmer, believe it or not, a couple of my favorites from him are any of the Dark Knight soundtrack, the Batman Begins, the Dark Knight, and the Dark Knight Rises. Absolutely awesome. Awesome music. You could check those out. I mentioned John Williams before. I will listen to the Star Wars soundtrack. And I will listen to the Jedi soundtrack and the Empire Strikes Back. All three of them are just absolutely outstanding and still stand up today. You know, and I'm kind of a nerd when I'm doing my art, or or drawing a piece or doing whatever, in that I will kind of listen to whatever soundtrack for the movie. Like right now, not that I have the black hole music going through my head, but I remember the theme, and anytime I see this piece, it just kind of comes back. The Angels and Demons soundtrack by Hans Zimmer is pretty cool also. This isn't going to be a commercial for Hans Zimmer, but the guy is absolutely outstanding. And if you listen to any of his soundtracks with any kind of regularity, you know what I'm talking about. And, but I'm always looking for new music too. So, I mean, it's not just, not just movie soundtracks, but anything, anything that kind of puts me in the mood to get excited about what I'm drawing, what I'm working on. Doesn't necessarily have to be the soundtrack from that film. Again, that's kind of, gets me in the mood to draw the subject matter, but let's see. But music was always an integral part to drawing and painting for me, and I know it is for a lot of people. When I was a music major in college, I would stop by the art studio, which was in the same building, and there would be all kinds of music playing in the background as the art students were working on their pieces and that. And I mean, you can't help it. You know what I mean? It's so it's so ingrained in all of us. Music is. I mean, music is one of those unexplainable phenomena. You know what I mean? It's a song will take you back to another time. It can completely change your mood, regardless of what mood you're in at that point. I mean, I don't want to start getting metaphysical, but it's almost a spiritual kind of experience, and that's why I've always liked it. When I was a kid, I listened to a bunch of soundtracks. A couple that stuck out, obviously, were Raiders of the Lost Ark, which is another good choice, by the way, from John Williams. And believe it or not, there was one from, I want to say it was Jerry Goldsmith that did this one. I could be wrong, and I guess I didn't do my homework before I came on. But the movie called Swashbuckler, and just the main theme was really the main theme just was awesome. I can't explain it any other way. It was, as a kid growing up, music takes you to another world, and when there's a song that just gives you that emotional response, there's no other way to explain it. That's You know, and I'm having kind of a hard time explaining it myself right now, but suffice it to say that anytime I would, you know, hear that particular overture from Swashbuckler, it was, you know, I was either playing with action figures or toys or whatever, and, you know, that would be the soundtrack to whatever adventure, you know, whatever adventure was happening at that point. You know, I don't know if a lot of you had soundtracks to your childhood adventures, but I definitely had a couple. Again, Raiders was always one of my favorites. Raiders of the Lost Ark. Star Wars music was always one of my favorite. But you know, everybody has their own tastes. I also listen to Slayer, believe it or not. I listen to country music. I listen to rock music. Not a lot of the newer rock, but you know, or the newer pop, I should say. But a lot of definitely what sadly is now being considered classic rock. You know, more the grunge generation. Things like that. Let's see. Kind of sucks as you get older to realize that the music that you grew up on is now being considered classic music. But it is what it is. Give a little shading there. Alright, that's looking pretty good. Let's see. Once again, as I've said before in other episodes, I may not always talk while I'm drawing. And depending on why you're watching this video, if you're just watching for the technique or you need some annoying yip yap in the background or what have you, you know, just know that I don't always talk and draw at the same time. Let's see. So if I go a little while without saying anything, I apologize again. Let's see. Okay, and again, I hope I'm not taking the drawing too far out of the frame. It's the kind of thing that'll kill your YouTube career real quick. That and forgetting to set the AE lock on the camera. And that sucks because that's one of those mistakes you kind of kick yourself for later, you know. All right, I think I need to fix that a little bit. There we go. Okay, it's looking fairly good. So I have a Deviant Art account. And at the risk of sounding like a shameless plug, please check it out. Just search for Blind Roosevelts and you will find me and my work. I'm always looking for ideas on how to utilize social media, whether it's Deviant Art, whether it's Facebook, whether it's Instagram, to show off my work. Obviously, making YouTube videos is evidence of that. And I've gotten a lot of good suggestions and a lot of ideas. But I'm curious to know your opinions on, I guess, social media etiquette. You know, if somebody likes your drawing, somebody that you don't know, say on like Instagram or something like that, I'm assuming it's only proper that you respond and thank them for it. But at the same time, if they don't want you to acknowledge it, I don't know why they wouldn't. But let's see, let's do this. It would be good to know, because, you know, I don't want to contact somebody and thank them for liking a picture that I've done or a video that I've done, only to have them turn around and tell me to shove off because, you know, because it's creepy that I would contact them on Instagram and that. Let's see. I'm always looking for new ideas to throw my art and music out there. If you look at my YouTube channel, I have links to some videos with some original songs in that. There's also some links to my band page, or some band performances, I should say. And you know, always looking to share that kind of stuff. Let's see, I think I like where that's going. So we'll do this. And so right, that is really getting there. I think what I'll do is pencil that in. And do the same over here, but these are going to be, these are the repulsor feet, appendages, I don't know, on Vincent, so I'll just pencil these in. And let's see. That. All right, let's get the brush out because I'm tired of smearing the, oh, let's not use that one either. apparently brushing it with my hand is doing more damage as far as spreading the lead around, the graphite around rather. And we'll do this. Cleaned off there, get that cleaned off there. All right, and that is a party foul. That is an art foul right there. Let's see, a couple more spots. Let's see. Fill that in here. And I just realized I did not do anything over here. I guess I was just seeing if you all were paying attention. Let's see. Almost there. And we'll get the hand done. I should mention a couple of other artists on the Artcasters. Jesse Cobb is another awesome artist. Travis Kakis, I believe his name is. He's really good. And for anyone I forgot, I apologize. My brain don't always work the way I want it to. And that includes remembering names. All right. So there's the finished pencil value drawing here. Let me touch. I'm going to spend a little time trying to touch this up, and also I'm going to get the acrylics out, or not the acrylics, I take it back, the black gesso. I'm going to get the black gesso out here, and I'm going to put some of the darkest tones in, the repulsors down here, some of the shadows in the body, the torso, the eyes, excuse me, and so let me get all that ready, and we'll do the magic jump cut here in a second, so be ready for it. Shouldn't take no time at all. So a couple of things. First thing I did was actually sprayed some fixative on top of the pencil. That way, so if I'm touching it or working it over with a brush, I'm not smearing the lead, taking that off. Also, if I touch it, I'm not getting fingerprints all over the place or smudging it. So I did that. The second thing was I actually mounted the board itself onto a piece of wood, so if I have to turn it or move it around or anything like that, I am not touching the mat itself. Third thing I'm doing is I'm adjusting the card that shows me where the the middle point is on this drawing. For those of you that don't know, just a little behind the scenes for you. What I'll do is when I have a drawing centered on the camera, what I'll do is I'll take another piece of paper that's roughly the same size, more like a business card size, I guess, and mount it just out of reach or just out of camera range. I think I actually have that in shot, so I'll move that up a little bit. Got to be professional nowadays. But I'll mount that to kind of show where the center of the drawing is, where it's supposed to be. So if I move it out of frame or anything like that, I'll just move it right back in. But enough of that. That'll go on the DVD extras. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take some black gesso and I'm going to start mixing some water in here with the gesso. I'm using a smaller brush because I want to get some detail work in. For those of you that are wondering, this is actually a wine cork that I put on the brush, because if I work too long holding the brush like this, I get a little bit of carpal tunnel. So to fix that, I kind of threw a wine cork on the brush so that it's a nicer, I don't have to pinch my fingers in so much. For those of you paying attention at home, I guess. Also need to get all my supplies, what I need to get. Paper towels here. Let's see, let's get that out of the way. I suppose I should have had all this stuff ready by the time I got the camera back on, so we'll just do a cut and we'll come right back and go. All right, because you got to be professional nowadays or you get bad comments. Let's see. What to start with, I think what I'll do is I'm going to start putting the darkest darks in. Go with the eyes first just to see how that covers. And if I get my big fat head in the way, I apologize, but stuff like this kind of requires a little bit of, requires me getting a little close and maybe getting in frame. Alright, that's not too bad. I'm going to try to get through this. I'm not going to rush through, but I'd like to keep the video at a reasonable amount of time, just because I don't want it to go too long. Get rid of that too. So again, I'm just putting in the darkest tones here. I mean, this is something, using the black gesso was something that I picked up from Matt Bush, who was another illustrator who worked on a lot of Star Wars art. But he put out a free promotional DVD kind of showing his process, and he made it a point to note that whenever he puts in the darkest tones, the darkest darks, he likes to use black gesso. Goes on a little easier, I guess, than black paint, black acrylics, and I kind of agree with that. Let's see, I don't want to make that too dark there, but I want to get some shadows in here. Some of this will be worked out with either a wash or with an airbrush. I want to get the dark shadows in here. Okay, that's looking good. Stuff like this, I know I'm kind of going fast, and I don't know if I may be going too fast for this. Obviously you want to take your time with something like this. You know, all it takes is one nasty stroke of the brush and your piece is either wrecked, or I don't know how many times I've been set back a little bit because I either had to take some color out or put some additional color in. So everybody draws at their own speed, they paint at their own speed, and you know, I'm not saying go incredibly fast with your work. You know, obviously go as fast as you need to go. From what, by all accounts, anybody who does this for a living, obviously speed is a factor. You know, and obviously you need to get a piece done in a reasonable amount of time, and some of the deadlines, from what I understand, are actually, for lack of a better term, pretty heinous. So, you know, it's all a matter of going fast enough to get the piece done, and have it look nice, but you know, at some point there needs to be an element of speed here. So, you know, when I have kind of the benefit of being able to go at my own speed, because this isn't necessarily This isn't necessarily a paid assignment. Well, it's not a paid assignment. It's not that it's not necessarily. It's not a paid assignment at all. But I would like to get this done here before too long, because the Artcaster's challenge ends at the end of June, and that's what I'm shooting for with this. And I know over the next few days I am not going to have a lot of time to really do anything, let alone work on this. Let's see. That's going to kind of bleed down into this. And that's okay that, you know, that's okay that things are busy. That just means I'm still alive. Which is a good thing, I guess. You can quote me on that. That'll be my new motto. Got things to do, which is good. That means you're alive. I try to get philosophical sometimes. It doesn't always work, just so you know. I bet you figured that out already, though. Alright, I have to get a finer brush here in a second. I like what's happening here. All this down here to quote J.R.R. Tolkien, all this down here will be in shadow. So that's going to be as black as I can get. Okay. Looking good there. Bear with me for 1 second as I get some of these details squared away. Let's see. This will be alright because I can fix that when I paint over it. I got a little carried away on it, maybe overpainted there a little bit. That happens though. Happens to everybody. Maybe not everybody. Maybe there were some artists that don't make mistakes, but I am definitely not one of them. So, you know, you're witnessing everything. If you're watching this video, this has been the entire process from the very start, from the early sketch to the drawing, to the painting, getting the values set. You know, these are the, I don't know, the ups and downs of illustration and art, I guess, you know, fan art. But I do know that I can fix this. That is a little darker on this side. Okay. Maybe do that. Okay. All right. Now, for these, let's see. Make sure I don't have anything on that. there's something to be said for painting on camera where you want it to be done quickly, but you want it to be done right. And you don't want to make a mistake, because if you do and it's caught on camera, I'm sure anybody who's ever done anything like this would attest to having something not quite work out on camera. And I only haven't because I have good editing software, so. Darker. I'm curious to know if any professional illustrator, artist, kind of their mindset while they're putting a piece together. I'm doing this just for fun. And again, it's not a paying gig, but I'm curious to know if there are any artists, illustrators out there that get the same kind of feelings, you know what I mean? When you're in the middle of a piece, do you get that apprehension that you might not be able to get that piece right, or get a certain section of it right? Or if you've ever painted yourself into a corner, and even though you know in your heart you can get yourself out of it and you can save a piece, if you've ever had that panic, or if it's just, I know what I'm doing, I took my umpteen years of art school and I know exactly what I'm doing. I never get freaked out, if that's the case, cool, man. But I'm curious to know if anybody else has that sort of apprehension, and I don't want to call anybody out. I just, I know I get it every time I start a piece and every time I'm working on it, I'm always afraid that I painted myself into a corner, or I've done something that can't be fixed. There's a drawing that I now use for scrap paper that was Rick from The Walking Dead that I kind of screwed up on and painted myself into a corner, could not get out of it, and now that illustration mat board is what I use when I airbrush. I will use spray fixative on tracing paper. It's another Drew Struzan device. And what I'll do is I'll put some spray fixative onto the tracing paper, and I'll use that illustration to kind of take the gumminess off of the paper, and then take as much as I can off of it without taking away the adhesiveness. And then I'll lay that tracing paper on top of the piece, and then cut around that. So even though the piece is, the Walking Dead piece is garbage, it still does serve a purpose. So I guess, in its death throes, as it were, it's still doing me a favor. So that, there's not a lot more black. I think all I need to do is this right here, and that will be that. So we're almost there. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for watching. And like and subscribe this video. This is going to be the end of episode 3. And next time, what I'm going to do is maybe put a semi-black border around him. Actually, maybe I'll do that here. So, false alarm. Not quite done yet. Like a colored pencil or something like that. Let's see, wash him off. So, sorry everybody, false alarm. Let's get the border in here first. Hang with me for another couple of minutes and this will be done. Rid of that. Let's do straight gesso on here. And if you're wondering what I'm doing here, I'm just trying to get just an outline around Vincent here. And I'll be able to get a lighter background in. I think I know. No, I'm going to use that brush. I definitely do not want to use that brush. Okay, so let's try this instead. Let's see what this guy does. Not much better, but be able to darken that up a little bit. This is that moment I was talking about, where I wonder if I painted myself into a corner here. Let's get a real thin line around that. I think when it's all said and done, this will all make sense. Because I know what I want to do here. And around the outside of Vincent there. So maybe black acrylic paint would have been the way to go on this one, but I'm not. I don't think I'm down the hole yet, down the rabbit hole fully yet. There we go, that's looking better. I'll darken that off after I've gotten off camera here. Don't lose faith when you get to a point that looks like you may have mess something up, know how to get out of it and how to get out of it properly. But don't give up. Because I think he'll be fine. And yes, I am trying to convince myself as well as you. Yikes. All right, well, I think that is going to do it. So I'll wait till this dries, and then I'll darken this up. I may even use ink or something. But this is all for this week, all for this episode. Thank you so much. Again, this is in the Artroom. Check out my Gary Anderson sketch card show, and I will see you again real soon. Take care, and remember to wrinkle stuff up and throw it out. Remember, your art is awesome, your art is important, and if it balances you and centers you, then do it for you, don't do it for anybody else. Take care, have a good week, and I will see you next time.